Weekly review, home of the Wolf Pack. I am coming to you live from my kitchen, hexologist style, okay? We are hijacking hexologist's stream today because he did not show up, okay? So we are forking hexologist stream. This is hexologist 2.0. We are all right, we are Jack Levine in hexologist. This is Zenologist, okay? And I have a very, very special guest with me. I have Funding Jim. How are you doing, Gary?
I had to put on a jacket. I saw that you all dressed up. We had a little bit of a clothing search while we were in Las Vegas, and I had to match your style a little bit today with my.
We got John Travolta here, and I am George Gammon. Okay, I am ready for Fox Business.
I love it.
So, how are you doing, man? Where are you at? What is going on in your world?
So I have a lot of trips planned. Some of them are just recreation. Some of them are networking. I really do enjoy wandering the planet. Like that's the thing for me. I'm older than some of you guys, and I am retired. So while I've still got knees, while I still can do Mount Fiji and see foreign places, then that's what I like to do. Right now I'm in South America, but in a couple of days I'll start an Asia trip. So I'm going to be going to Korea, Singapore, Vietnam, maybe Japan for about a month. So I just like wandering.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I'm actually going to hopefully join up with you, maybe even Jason Hartman somewhere in Asia. We would like to do some sort of trip vlog, something that kind of brings attention to Hex, maybe, something that's not forgettable. You know what I mean? That would be fun. I'm hoping I can meet you out in Asia somewhere. But I do want to ask you, this is on the top of everybody's mind right now. Is this the bottom? Are we in the bottom? It seems like we finally got a pump. We got a 5, 6, 7% pump in Bitcoin. Hex pump 28%. What is going on? Is this it? Is this the moment?
Yeah, I think if you look at who has recently entered into Hex, how vulnerable are you when you're 50% down and you got in at 4 cents or 5 cents or 6 cents? How much do you really feel that pain? I think that the majority of the pain that has happened in the bear market across all cryptocurrencies, in my opinion, for Hex at 56 cents, it's been a long decline over a year, basically, to get where it's at today. The same thing with Bitcoin. You famously were involved with Bitcoin Top and you got out, you saw the signs on the wall, and that was great for your community that were following you as well. But you've had to be strong also by looking at technical analysis, by paying attention to macroeconomic signs, and deciding for yourself, when are you going to get back into the marketplace? I think that you're a savvy everyman on the street. I think that you're someone that pays attention to what markers are out there in the public, like what news clippings or what did Cointelegraph say today. But you also look at the charts and stuff like that. So for me, I think most of the pain has exited from the Hex community. I think that a lot of us have felt the 56 cent top. We've felt sacrifice, and we've seen other projects come along to quote unquote launch on Pulse Chain. And I don't think that there's a lot of sell pressure, in my opinion, for people that have gotten in at the 5, 6, 7, 8 cent mark. I think that those people will hold on longer.
Yeah, it surprised me so much. Look, I'm from the 2017 ICO bubble. My first 20x was 5 years ago or something like that. And I come from the environment of everybody dumping on everyone's head, soon to get out, no camaraderie, nothing like that. It's every man for himself. That's the environment I come from. A lot of people in the Hex community, we're onboarded into Hex, and Hex is what they know. I'm actually from the other side of crypto, from the blue chip side of crypto. And I'm used to dude, if you don't get out right away, I'm from the ICO bubble. If you don't get out right away, you're absolutely wrecked and upside down. So when I see what draws me to the Hex community is that when I see these big whales, they get their stakes in the bottom, in the depths of the worst bear market I have ever seen. And they just restake and then they don't sell. That's unheard of in crypto. It really is. I've never seen that anywhere before in crypto for all the years that I've been in here. And that's kind of what draws me here. I think max pain for Hex is probably in, but that doesn't mean it can't go lower. You know, I'm telling people in my community that I'm going to give away, I'm going to do a Hex giveaway at 1.27 penny. That is the point of control. That is where the most Hex has ever traded hands. And I'm planning to give away the bottom on this channel, okay? Since I did manage to give away the top. Now, that could also mean that if we have a confirmation of a reversal and we never actually get there, I'm still going to give away the bottom, okay? But I still think that there's probably more pain in sight. When you take a look at what's happening, you know, like we have had billions, like I think it's like 4 point something billion dollars in short liquidations in the last like 48 hours. I mean, people are just absolutely destroyed and wrecked. And how shorts cover is when you open a short position, you are selling at that point. And then when you close your short position, you are buying, right? So we're talking about people that are forced buyers. I think the people who bought this candle that we're seeing, they were forced to buy this candle, okay? These are forced buyers buying this liquidation candle. Sorry if I'm not jumping straight in thinking that this is the bottom. I do not buy tops of exuberance, euphoria, or liquidation candles. I'm not saying that the bottom is not in. I'm just talking in probabilities, and I think the probabilities are not in. Especially if you look at Facebook, if you look at Amazon down 20%, if you look at Facebook missing earnings by a long shot. Only Elon Musk can save Facebook at this point. Only an Elon Musk takeover. It is so devastated. And when you look at cryptocurrency and how it moves with tech stocks, I would have to say that I don't think that this is the bottom. I don't think that the bottom is in. I foresee a lot more volatility. And that is the mantra of the wolf pack of the community that I'm building, is to take off the rose-colored glasses and to look at things for how they are and not gaslight yourself. And sometimes that's ugly, and sometimes that means I got to troll, you know what I mean? Or talk smack or something like that. But it's about having a thick skin and looking at things for how they are. And I'm telling you, this doesn't look good. This candle, this liquidation candle, this doesn't seem like the bottom for me, okay? But it's been a tough bear market. I'm not gonna lie. I went through the 2017, 2018, 2019 bear market. I went through that whole era. I went through the cozy 19 dip. You know, we have to speak in code. But and this is nothing. This is absolute worst. This is max pain. Like this, a lot of people are hurt. I agree with you when I think crypto has capitulated. We already have our Lehman Brothers moment. We had Three Arrows Capital. We had Celsius. We had a bunch of them. A bunch of the main hedge funds in crypto collapse already. But I still think that there's more pain to come as this economic troubles and the macro rolls out. But with that being said, let me ask you this: how are you dealing with the bear market, and how like for holders, stakers, and people who lurkers, like how do you, Gary, get through the bear market?
Well, what I loved about Hex when I first got involved with it in 2019 was a majority of the people that I saw as talking heads were, as far as promoting and talking about Hex product, they were not influencers that made their money from selling the next top 5 gems. Like they didn't talk about the next 5 gems, the people that I was listening to and the origin of Hex. And when I dug into those people and started to meet them either in person or spend more time on camera with them, I would learn that they ran successful insurance companies, or that they were successful in their mortgage broker business, or that they had launched something 5 or 10 years ago that's done well, and now they're speculating to some degree inside of cryptocurrency. So most of the people that are talking heads inside of the quote unquote Hex OG that are still here, they already had some business sense. They already had some successes, and now they were comfortable interacting with other people. So when you ask, what am I doing during the bear market? It's kind of what I was doing during the bull market. And it's kind of what I was doing 3 years before I came into crypto. It's still network. Like I like real estate. I think that there's a language that we all speak, which is for a majority of your consumers of your content, they probably speak English as a primary language. Maybe some people speak Spanish as a secondary language and they still understand your content. Maybe some people talk macro finance, and some people like to pay attention to what's happening in the stock market and, you know, the tech stock play of cryptocurrency. You know, like, is it going to do more than the tech stock? So there's people that you're speaking to as a niche. But I tend to talk about real estate because I think that people that do not understand English, they are speaking Chinese. They are building a business about flipping cars or selling some product online or some factory, they still tend to talk real estate. They still tend to anchor their wealth or their castle, so to speak, of success in real estate. So I like the terminology. And when I introduced you to people in Las Vegas, like Jason Hartman, or in the future, George Gammon, people that we pay attention to, Ken McElroy, Robert Kiyosaki, people like that, they have their intellectual property, which is the content they talk about, which typically is real estate, stock plays, businesses, and things like that, and not so much about crypto. We happen to be drilled down into a niche, which is a great niche and has the best potential for ROI. But the language and the network I try to build has to do with real estate.
Okay. Yeah. So I also, so where all do you have real estate? I know you were in Puerto Rico recently, and then now you're in South America. Like, what is your real estate background?
So I really didn't do much other than sell my time for money for decades. I started out in farming, and my family are all like farming in North Texas. It was like cattle culture and things like that, horsemanship. That was my childhood. Then joining the military, I really didn't have concern or interest in money either. It was more about the adventure, throw me on the other side of the planet. I went through a lot of specialized training, things like that in medicine. So I always felt like I wanted to have a purpose in life, but I wasn't a ne'er-do-well. I really had a good work ethic, but I never really concerned myself with money. And I simply sold my time to the military. Then in my late 20s, going into my 30s, I would...
All right. Well, looks like we have a little bit of
Sorry,
time.
I'm back.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worry about it.
So what I would do is I would pay attention to my customer base, which is my patients in medicine. And the patients in medicine that I had up until I moved to California were accountants, they were flight attendants, they worked factories and things like that. And they weren't really business people. They were the general population, a majority of them. And I would spend 45 minutes or an hour with the patient every time I would do a diagnostic or do some clinical research trial. Then I moved to Silicon Valley. And when I moved to Silicon Valley, what was amazing was my patients were now entrepreneurs. They were venture capitalists. They owned real estate companies. They sunk some money into tech that did really well. And my real estate business began. So I began maybe 9 years ago in real estate. And my first ventures were all about hostels or co-working environments, places where people could both live on one part of the property in a dormitory setting, and then they could have office space, maybe dedicated niches to teleconferencing or podcasts and things like that.
So you and I, we're different because we are on the outer skirts of like the Hex community, because you are really in the real estate side. You have an entrepreneurship background, right? You're like a networker. And on my end, I'm also kind of different. I'm more niche, like I'm kind of focusing on the entertainment side of it, but I'm also not coming from the Hex community. I enjoy like being in Hex and like I sacrifice for Pulse Chain and everything like that. But all of my friends and all the people around me are actually from like traditional crypto, right? So we're both these kind of like lone wolves on the outskirts. And it seems like you're bringing in a lot of people from the real estate world, like a lot of people from like traditional finance, people, successful entrepreneurs and things like that. And my whole goal was that like, I have to walk this weird fine line where it's like, I'm like in deep down, I'm a Hexican, you know what I mean? From traditional crypto. So like my goal is to try to merge the two. So the Hex community has like this big black stain on it of like, oh, well, it's a cult and it's like a niche of a niche, because crypto is already a niche, right? So like Hex is like a niche of a niche. And how do you blend the two? Hexicans have done a really, really great job of onboarding new people that are not from crypto community, nothing at all. It seems to me that like crypto people don't really technically like Hex community. They don't particularly like Richard Hart. So But however, the regular traditional crypto community is the prime demographic, right? Because they have MetaMask wallets, right? They've been in the game. They've had Bitcoin. They've been through bear markets. They're battle tested. They know how this works, right? They got the diamond hands, right? So how do you mix the two? And that's the funny thing with me. Like, if you look back at some of my videos, like I'm trolling Richard. I did a whole video trolling the 731 gathering. You know what I mean? Like, but at the same time, like it's easy to look at that and be like, oh, like sometimes I get heat on Twitter, or sometimes people be like, hey, why are you talking to that guy? He's a troll, right? But at the same time, it's like, yeah, dude, that's how you mix the communities, because these people already think that about you. And if we're gonna go out here and pretend like everything's honky dory and like you're gonna remain a cult, you're gonna remain your own subgroup of crypto. And my goal is to be like, yo, I'm not just in Hex, right? I'm not a Hex maxi. I'm all about different coins. I'm all about macro, right? I'm all about, politics, macro, just the comedy aspect of it, big like Bitcoin, Ethereum, and stuff like that. And what I'm trying to do is like, yo, why don't we all just get along, right? And by doing that, and I think the best way to bury that hatchet is just through comedy. You know what I mean? So like, if I'm trolling, like, dude, if I'm trolling something, if I'm like trolling Richard Hart and make a troll video or something like that, Hexicans hate me, right? If I'm like promoting Hex, the regular guys hate me, and I'm in the middle here. So my thing is like, could we use comedy to just blend the two? Like, dude, Richard Hart took so many slings and arrows that he didn't need to take. Everybody look at Charles Hoskinson, right? He's an ETH developer. He's an ETH founder, right? He made Cardano. Look at Justin Sun. He forked ETH, right? Okay, so Justin Sun takes heat. But I'm saying everybody who's anybody has made a project, right? Why is it that Richard Hart took all of the heat? Why is Richard Hart the scammer? Everybody's done the same thing that Richard Hart has done, but Richard actually did it better, right? So like that's kind of like, I want to just talk about, like, focus on the hypocrisy of the cryptocurrency community sometimes. You know what I mean? It was Hex is unjustly blackballed, right? So how do we undo that? I know like Richard's strategy is like, F them, watch us ball, right? Watch us ball out. But my thing is like, yo, let's onboard the best demographic that there is, and that's crypto people. And I guess my whole thing is to try to blend the two. Do you think that this is a good strategy, or do you think that I'm spinning my wheels here? Because like I said, on one side, if I troll the Hex community and point out the obvious like comedy in it all, they hate me. And if I pump the Hex community, my friends laugh at me, because my friends are OGs, Bitcoiners, OG Ethereans, OG guys, right? Those are the crowd that I'm in from the past. So I'm either taking heat from this side or this side. Am I foolish to try to blend the two, or is this a great idea? Tell me.
Well, you're your own man. I mean, that's the whole thing, is what I love about Hex people that are, especially the public ones. You're on camera. You've said that you hold Hex. You've said that you sold Hex at its top. You say that you're going to buy back in when it's at its bottom. I think when you declare your position, everyone respects that. I mean, even though people inside of Hex that are more zealot, or maybe they're more recent to the community or something like that, they just some people just want to troll for the sake of trolling, and they just want to be evil just to be evil, right? They're not even adding any kind of comedy to it, right? So what I like about your content, and why I do enjoy, when we were in Vegas, or reaching out in this kind of context to do a live stream, it's because it's needed. Like, we need comedy. Charles Hoskinson in the middle of desert falconing. Okay, is that selling?
Yeah. You remember that? Oh my God, yeah.
What is that doing, right?
Like green screen myself.
Paying $4 million for lunch with Buffett, and Buffett still thinks it's rat poison. What is that doing? Like, there's comedy inside of this sector, and it's great that, if you look at audiences of people that were really the comedic greats, the people that made commentary of culture through the past 50 years. Richard Pryor. You think that white people thought he was funny? Hell yeah. You think black people thought he was funny? Hell yeah. You think people that were poor or rich thought he was funny? Yeah. And it was about the frame. It's about how you make that presentation. Same thing with Dave Chappelle. Same thing with others that, a meme culture person inside of crypto is needed. And,
Yeah.
I don't think that,
And it could really bring
preserve.
people together, right? Like think about, like you just said, Richard Pryor or Bill Burr or anybody. They'll be like, hey, black people, and trash them, right? Then they'll be like, yo, white people, shut up, and trash them. And then now all of a sudden, like, we're together as one, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I totally get what you're saying. Like maybe like, because I'll trash everybody. I'll trash Elon. I'll trash it. Basically, like back in the day when like Eminem, people would be like, dude, if you get trashed by Eminem, like you made it. You know what I mean? Not saying I'm like on that level. I'm just saying it's like that's the frame that I'm coming from. It's like, dude, if I made a video of you and I'm just like poking fun at some of the things you did, like sure, good comedy has a little bit of truth in it. But like at the end of the day, like, dude, come on, man, you got like free exposure. You know what I mean? I have no ill will against you or anything like that. And then it also could be something that you need to hear. But I
Yeah, I
come
mean,
from like,
I don't think we should be surrounded by yes men. I don't think that
yes,
Hexicans should be insulated. I don't think that Richard should be insulated. I do like sometimes when he puts tweets out, and I feel privileged because I'm one of the people that can reply to his tweets when he like cuts off anybody else and he's trying to strike bots or whatever his reasoning is. But also, I'm not a yes person. Like, there's certain things I do like, and I'm like, man, that guy's amazing. And there's things I reflect on that we all have changed over the past 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Like our personality in 2020 is not our personality going into 23, right?
Wow.
It's going to be different. The macroeconomic scene, we've never gone through massive recession and Amazon and all these other FANG stock. Where do people put value? They're afraid to put it in real estate. They're afraid to put it in stock. They're afraid to put it anywhere when the whole world turned upside down, because of a bat soup gone wrong. The world is different, and we've got to find comedy in this stuff, dude. I mean, being productive to me means without being lowering your own self-worth and value, but delivering value to other people. Like, it's a noble effort that you have done, any of us have done, when there's nobody watching, nobody paying attention to your stream. You're like, how many views? Look at it. Like, I know how much investment of time you put into each one of your pre-recorded releases. 12 to 13 minutes worth of content. It may take 7 hours to edit, but how much research went into it, right? You had to scroll through lots of different websites, make your own analysis, make your own script in your head, and then create content that gets delivered for a few hundred people at the best. So it is something that we all need to be better about, and that is to strengthen our self-resolve and improve our skill sets at communicating. That's what I like about your content.
Yeah, and at the end of the day is I'm always growing and I'm learning. So let's say sometimes I have a video that like typically it's the ones that I spend the most time on are the ones that get the less views because there's nothing going on. And I'm like, I'm really trying to make something out of nothing here. And I put it on and I'm like, damn, I just put 7 hours into this. It got like 360 views. I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I wasting my time? But at the end of the day, I became smarter. I became stronger. You know what I mean? I became more informed. I learned more. I'm better at editing and stuff like that. And it's all really just practice. It's all really just growing. And in this bear market, if there's nothing else to do, just grow, just get informed. And for God's sake, stack USDC. Like just whatever. If you got like don't use money that you need to pay bills or something like that. But like do a side hustle, whatever. I mean, like, don't get on the pole, but like, you know what I mean? Like drive Uber or something and all of that, put in USDC and get ready for this next cycle, because I believe that this next cycle is going to be the craziest one yet. Just look at the economy. Today I saw on the news that the Federal Reserve is considering to make the benchmark rate the target for inflation instead of 2% to 3.5%. Can you imagine in 5 years, 25% of your money is evaporated just like that? People have apps on their phone. They can instantly buy cryptocurrency. Everybody knows this shit pumps. Everybody is seeing it. This next market cycle is going to be the biggest cycle. And if you're here in the bottoms, in the depths of it, you know what I mean? That's the thing. We are in the bottom of it. If you're here and you're collecting USDC and you're waiting to average in, I still believe there's going to be one more flush. I might be wrong, but I believe there's one more flush, and you start averaging in. This next cycle is going to change everything for you. You're really going to be able, like Richard always said, what if it's a reverse rug? Like that's what I see coming. I think that it's going to go beyond your wildest dreams. When I got into Hex, it was about day 50 to day 70, and I was chimping in. Okay, this is my investment strategy. It's like I throw a few ETH here, a few ETH there, and then just like ride or die. Like if it goes to zero, cool. If not, no. Like the product market fit thing, I would look for projects. Does it seem like a product market fit? Does it have an active Twitter? Does it have an active Telegram? Does it not look like bots or fake shit? Right. And then I would just throw the ETH in and forget about it. That's kind of what I did with Hex as well. So like if you and in those days, I never imagined. I prayed that one day we would hit a penny. I could never imagine from those days, from day 70, right? Can you imagine hitting a freaking penny? Right. So then we went to 56 cents. Okay. So that's beyond my wildest dreams. So you have to be prepared for cryptocurrency for this next cycle. You have to keep it in your mind. You have to use Hex as a template in your mind and remember that this shit can go beyond your wildest dreams, right? So let's say that does happen. Here's a thought experiment, okay? Well, let's say we do have like another Hex style pump with Pulse X or Pulse Chain or whatever, Dogecoin, whatever. Let's say it just goes exuberantly euphoric again, like it has in the past. Like, what is the end game? Like, what do you want? What should we have some sort of a plan for if this shit actually does take off like that?
Well, it's interesting because I talk with people that are some of them are very, very, very wealthy. And then I also talk and spend as much time with people that putting together $100 to invest into cryptocurrency is a big deal. It's a big deal. And, both have value inside of an ecosystem. What I don't like is the harvesting of plebs, so to speak. I don't like that about cryptocurrency. It is a casino in a lot of ways. It is, let's just get the lottery ticket. I don't even know anything about the ticker or the founder, or there is no such idea of its community. I just happen to have bought this ticket and I'm going to do the scratch off and I'm just going to degen forever. Some of those things, people jump out. You've seen it play out on chart. They jump out a year or 2 years into holding their cheap tokens, their hot free alts or whatever cheap alts or whatever the narrative is or meme during bears. And, at the first, if it's a rise of 5x or 6x, they sell, right? Because it is the game they're addicted to, not the gains, right? The gains are different.
And most things are rugs,
Yeah. So. And, that's a big thing. So again, I like Hex, the product, a lot. And I like it because it has a built-in leverage to it. The leverage is you don't have to have a lot of capital if you're willing to put a lot of time. Or if you want to stay liquid, 90% of all Hex is liquid. And even outside, if you remove the OA, what percentage actually is out there liquid as far as general holders? I don't really know the math, but I know it's very, very small supply. And yet it has
some of that, sorry to interrupt, but some of that small supply is also these OG hexagons that just don't freaking dump. They don't. They just take the interest and they re-roll it. Anyway, sorry to break your thought, but like we don't really know how much is actually liquid right now. And part of that liquid is people who like refuse to dump, because I watched the stupid Hex Stannis bot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry to interrupt you, man.
But again, I'm not trying to be, everybody get along absolute kumbaya. I think that there's absolute assholes inside of our organization, inside of our community, and things like that. I think that sometimes it's just impetuous, or people feel some kind of threat or whatever it is, and they just want to take it out on Twitter. But in general, Hex, the product, has a lever built into it. You decide that you're going to stake, and you say it's 3 years, 5 years, 8 years out in the future. How much does that really impact your day-to-day life if that was your statement and that was your commitment to stake? Well, it doesn't really. I mean, $500 and you're going to miss it for 7 years, right? The average is like 6.9 years as far as staking length of all stakes. And it really doesn't impact your life. Even if turmoil over the next few years macroeconomically, it's really not impacting your life. So like, I like talking to people that have a little bit of, it is significant capital to them at the moment to throw $500 or $1,000 at something and say, I'm going to say goodbye to this for 8 years, 7 years, whatever it is. But like, I don't like, the people that I talk with most, they have had stuff in their garage for 10 years that they're going to one day get around to doing something with. They're going to fix up that car. Okay.
Yeah.
So just treat your crypto that way. Like, what is so degen about I have to get in right now with all of my emotion, or I have to get out right now with all of my emotion? I try to temper some of those emotions of this thing.
You are absolutely right, man. If you have that procrastinating spirit in cryptocurrency, you will make it. Because if you just take a look at the people who have held versus traded, the people who have held were way safer, made way more money. It's just a boring route to take, right? Like I did a thing where I was leverage trading, you know, like with the VPN, doing it, whatever. And I spent a lot of time. I made a lot of money. I did very good, and I was sleeping with my laptop and stuff. And like, you know, at the end of the day, looking back on those years, on that time that I spent, this time that I wasted looking at candles, looking at like patterns and things like that. And if I would have just held, I would have made just as much, if not more, with less risk, right? Holding is way better than trading, right? I would recommend that nobody ever trades unless they are searching for tops and bottoms. You know what I mean? If you want to get out at a good time with your trading position, even though I did get out, I sold 65K publicly on camera. I always show it over and over. But I have a hodl position that I will never sell with Bitcoin, Ethereum, I got Phantom, Hex, things like that, right? All like a bunch of little shit coins and stuff that I'm going to go off the cliff with, you know? So at the end of the day, I'm still a hodler. I'm not a trader. Yes, I'm looking for the bottom, but if it runs away from me, I have a hodl position. In life, you have to position yourself to where you cannot lose. That's my strategy in everything in life. You know, I have my own business, you know what I mean? Even in like dating, you know, you set yourself up to where like you can't lose. Like, okay, if the market runs away from me, I have a hodl position and I win. And then I'm going to wait for the confirmation, get in with my trading position, miss 8%, I win, right? So it's the same thing. We flush, then I average in at the bottom, I win. That's how you have to position yourself in life. You have to be a fucking winner, you know what I mean? And you have to position yourself to matter what happens to you, you can win in that situation. And that's what I do in business. That's what I do in pretty much everything. And, you know, that's kind of how I got to, that's how I survived the cryptocurrency space. And at the end of the day, cryptocurrency is about surviving. It's about still standing here in a year. If you guys that are in the chat right now, if you guys who are watching the stream right now, if you are here in cryptocurrency next year, your life is going to be changed for the better. Like sports cars, travel. I don't know what you want, what you're into, or whatever, but like your dreams are going to come true if you. And wow, I'm really selling it, huh? But like if you just stay with it, you have to stick with it. You know, like and hodl responsibly. Okay, I do realize I was getting a little bit carried away with some of that there, but like this is what we're here for. We're here because we have hopes, dreams, and aspirations, and we think that investing into these high volatile assets can get us there. And I'm telling you it can. And I'm telling you that because that's how I got to where I'm at. You know what I mean? I literally did it. I have not put in a penny into cryptocurrency since 2017. I have only taken out. All right. I've only like increased the quality of my life, you know, made it posh, made it better because of cryptocurrency. And I think that everybody can do that. That's the message I'm providing. And it's about hodling. It's about holding long term. And that's why my channel is set up the way it is. That's why I kind of like talk about news, events, and like comedy and stuff like that, because this is what we're doing to get by. I'm showing you the humor of this, the clown world of this whole thing to entertain you while you are not trading, okay? While you are staking, while you are hodling, while you are building your wealth and thriving in this world, you know, this is how we stay engaged into this during the hard times. I'm building this channel literally in the depths of the bear market. You know what I mean? Nobody's listening. And the people, Gary, the people that are listening, they don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to hear like, how do you grow a channel when it's like, hey, bro, by the way, welcome to the FUD show. Like all your bags suck. The economy sucks. Everything's going to collapse. There's war over there. There's war probably coming over here. You're screwed, man. Like It's hard to build a real truth pill channel that's not going to lie to you and try to sell you coins and stuff like that. It's really hard. It's really hard to do that. And how do I cope with that, Gary?
I think people should look at history and be, we do live in ADD world. You know, people can't remember 3 minutes ago kind of content, but they should look at history. Maybe it's because I'm older and I've seen some of these things in my own life, but I also have always appreciated history. So you had the 19, what was it? The Spanish flu of the 1900s in the United States decimated like a lot of the economy. It destroyed a lot of the population. It was very challenging. And that was like 1917 or 1918, something like that. Around, I guess it was World War One, because World War One is when people came back and they started to infect, right? So you saw that economy destroyed by pestilence and by fear. And then you saw only a couple of years later, the roaring 20s, which was basically the Fed had come up
demand
and started printing money.
Yeah, they said, hey, here's bubonic coin, 1921, buy now.
Yeah, so they made the pitch. They brought the people together in general. I'm not saying that the Fed is good, but I'm saying this printing press cycle often shows you where you're going to be economically. So you had the printing press of the 20s and the Fed, and you know, whether you have a narrative that they're ruining sound money and debasing currency, or whether you had the narrative that, hey, now I can take a loan and I can build the Chrysler Tower, like, you know, that was financed. You know, the Empire State Building, you know, all of the things that we went through in the 1930s before the Great Depression, right? Stock market is all-time high, 1928, 1929, all-time crash, 1929, Black Tuesday or whatever it was, the Great Depression in the 30s. And then only in the 40s, right after World War II, you know, all of my grandparents, they lived through the 50s as children, and it was boom time. Like everybody had, you know, something in the kitchen, 2 cars in the driveway, you know, like all this utopia of Leave It to Beaver. Like it's not that long of a cycle between absolute, you know, misery and the world is awful to boom times, you know, and I just have to look at it that way.
And the thing is like the people who can't make it through this hard time end up buying the top of the market. You know what I mean? Like by the time that the news reaches out about Dogecoin, or like, dare I say, by the time people got onboarded into Hex at 45 cents, 43 cents, 42 cents, you know, the market was already over. By the time you heard of it, it depends. It's kind of like the Cantillon effect. Think of it like the crypto Cantillon effect, right? Well, how close are you to the coin printer, right? Like if you are close to the center core of crypto, you have your like fingers on the pulse of it and you know what's going on, you're going to be closer to the money printing. You're going to take advantage of it. Now, if you are all the way on the outside of it, now you're talking about the cycles, you know, like by the time when the cycle matures, think of it as moving from the center all the way to the outside. And as the cycle matures and it's Hex 45 cents, it's Bitcoin 65K, you know, 56K, whatever. And then you hear about it because you're so far from the core, right? Now it's too late, bro. You're my exit liquidity. Like how I took my USDC profits, how I bought my R8, how I bought my Tesla, all that shit. It's your money. This is a zero-sum game, right? For somebody to win, someone has to lose. That, you know, that's why we always say wolf pack. You have to kill to eat, right? So like you want to be to make it in this market, right? To make it in crypto, you have to be close to the crypto Cantillon effect. Yo, dude, I think trademark that shit.
It's an interesting thing. So when you and I take money out of the wallet, we put it into a bank account, the bank account transfers it into something we convert into crypto. A lot of us are chasing after, you know, small market cap start, you know, this thing launches on Thursday. Let me get in now because we're ears are to the ground and we pay attention to communities, right? It is interesting, this Bitcoin narrative. I've seen the progress since I first learned of crypto in 2017. I've seen this process. And what's interesting is how much money is printed. And then once that's printed, how do you destroy the money that's been printed? So if the government wants to, or Fed wants to basically print money, how does that get destroyed? Well, it gets destroyed by the losses inside of stock market speculation. It gets destroyed by the losses in cryptocurrency by the top, and now it's worth 1/3, right? So even though people like to promote Bitcoin as the lead and the OG, I think it will serve a purpose. And I think eventually it'll go to 100,000 or go to a million. And I think that you'll still see volatility. People think that there's going to be like some stabilization of crypto, and it is at its S curve. I will give you that. That crypto or Bitcoin.
Is Hex at its S curve? Is Hex
I
at
don't
its
know.
S curve?
We've only had one rise. We've only had one long rise. Like if you look at the charts and you looked at the staircase that Gerardo used to put out there all the time about.
Oh yeah, Gerardo, everything's a bull flag.
Yeah, everything's a bull flag. Every 30 days, every 40 days, it tends to double. That narrative, right? And so we have that rise. And if you look at look into Hex or look into Bitcoin websites, you would see the correlation as far as like I wouldn't say the correlation triggered by Bitcoin. I would say the marching pattern and steps that Bitcoin took and Ethereum took and Hex has been taking. You can see the pattern as far as this trend. And when people think that they're the new people that are only listening to the hip music and they don't listen to the same thing that their grandparents were listening to or their parents were listening to, they feel exclusive. They feel like they're a small clique. They have a band of loyalty to a degree to their music or to their clothing or to their culture, right? And this is, like you said, this next rise, in my opinion, like you had said, is going to be, in my opinion, the biggest blow off top ever, like mapped. Out of, you said stock and fangs. What if you had bought all 4 of the fang stocks at the bottom when they started, or you had bought all 4 of the best performing cryptocurrencies when they started? You're going to have, in my opinion, far more gain in the cryptocurrency asset class than you are stock or bond or real estate or anything else.
And the sheer ease of getting into it is what I would add to that, is because if you you don't have to go to a broker. You can lay in your bed in your underwear and do it. You know what I mean? That's the thing. You don't have to have somebody representing you. You don't have to have a brokerage account. You just go on, you click a button, it's yours, and that's really going to be the ticket to it, the accessibility of cryptocurrency, you know what I mean? And yeah, of course, we always hope that that crypto and decentralization and the empowerment of finance, the empowerment of people is going to, that the world is going to go to that direction instead of, say, like central bank digital currencies. Like where do you see the regulations going? Do you see that the people will rise up and just be like, yo, we're not doing CBDCs. We want our own financial freedom. Can that be pulled off, or are we going to have to work inside a regulatory framework of, like, say, an Aptos? Now, Aptos came out. Everybody was talking about it. Aptos is actually Diem. It's actually the Facebook coin that got shot down by regulators, right? So Aptos is Diem. They hold the rights to freeze your coins, mint as many coins as you want, and move coins out of your wallet if they want. That is regulatory safe, right? We see Ethereum. Most of the validators are in the United States, subject to United States laws. OFAC is saying that you cannot process these blocks. Now, of course, Ethereum is decentralized enough to actually process the blocks, right? But slower, right? But the majority of that is locked down. So are we going to have more stuff like Aptos coming out saying, literally, like, worst case scenario, like a project that you would not buy if it said that they could freeze your tokens in your wallet? You would not buy that. That is the direction that the Silicon Valley coins, the BlackRock coins, the JP Morgan style coins are going. Can Hex survive in this community, in this environment? I mean, can we break away from the corporations, the censorship, the government control? Can we have true DeFi, which I believe is Hex and projects in that space?
Yeah, I think people that doubt that that's possible or will happen need to get outside the United States, and they need to actually spend time in countries that their fiat currency collapses every 20 years and goes to absolute zero. They need to go to Argentina. They need to go to Venezuela and Colombia and other places in other regions of the world where Panama, they use the dollar. They have their own currency, but they use the dollar. So you have workarounds that human beings figure out. If they say we can't trust the currency or we can't trust that crypto because it can be turned off, then they just barter in other things. They barter in services and goods. They trade what they do. This idea of, absolute control, Animal Farm, we're going to go to full dystopia where the oligarch runs us. I don't think that that's really going to happen. I think that there's going to be some destruction in the future. I think that there will be a World War III. I think that there will be, tribulation that humanity faces and things like that. Never denied that that's possible. But people find ways to work around stuff. Like a lot of my family, they're like prepper personalities, and I don't like poo-poo it. I'm like, hey, it's good that you've got a bunker. It's great that you've got 94 weapons and 20 flasks of whiskey so that you can trade with your neighbor some toilet paper. I mean, like they do all that stuff. My family does all that, and people are.
And they're from the Cold War era, right? So
yeah.
But I totally get it. Like I totally get. I agree with you 100%. It boils down to what people are going to do, right?
Yeah.
What human nature is, and people just want to be free and they want to be happy and they want to provide for their families and they want to acquire wealth, right? So if you have these corporate censors and, like, if lack of better words, dickheads at BlackRock and people that want to keep you in a little box, even if they attempt that, you're saying like around the end, people are going to be bartering and doing their own thing anyway, right?
Yeah.
So really, in that sense, cryptocurrency decentralization really has no choice but to eventually win, and at least that's what we hope, right?
Yeah, even if you look at when the war started in the East, in Europe, I think you saw a big spike up in how much possession people took of Bitcoin, as an example. You see how many had 1,000 Bitcoin or more, and that was a super high rise, like suddenly. And it was like, okay, well, during times of social stress or financial, question and ambiguity, then people start to hoard things. They're like, okay, let me make sure that I've got a defensive position for what might be looming, and let me make sure I have ability to exit with some value. How can I do that? Can I do that with bars of gold? Can I do that with some kind of bearer bond instrument that simply has to be honored by another government? How do I move value around the planet? And so I don't think that there's ever going to be death of cryptocurrency. I think that the cat is out of the bag. Even when it comes to CDC, central bank digital currencies and things like that, if that becomes a ramp, we will like it. If it becomes some kind of substitution play, and it says, you guys have been playing over here in this crypto world, and we're going to give you this very stable coin that's called, the UK's version or the America's version. I don't think that they're ever going to have uniformity where one currency rules all countries. Their cultures are too different, and the power bases are too much in competition with each other. So.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. So just changing topics, we're running out of time here really fast. I just want to ask you, I know you're really close to Richard Hart and you guys are, you guys actually chat, and things like that. So like, do you have any insights like, when Pulse Chain, bro? When Pulse Chain? Like what is going on? And dare I ask this?
Yeah, I mean, asking doesn't really give you a hard date or anything like that. I'm certainly not in the know, and he's not whispering in my ear, so to speak.
Okay.
This is going to happen. Nothing like that. There seem to be a lot of signs. There seem to be a lot of positive movements in general. He does pay attention, like when we're in Miami, he does pay attention a lot to the macroeconomic. He was paying attention very strongly to whether this ETH merge was going to happen or not. The developers that were working for him, this 14 dev, 2-team, red team, blue team thing, they have let slip out in different public, Telegram spaces and things like that they were aware that the merge was going to happen, and then they had to consider this pivot to new code. I know that it's frustrating. I am frustrated. It's not like I've got $20 riding on the thing. I've got a lot of social capital, a lot of real estate capital that I liquidated to participate in different sacrifices. So I've been as anxious as the next guy about when it releases. Everyone's going to say the same thing, which they're going to care about uptime and security. And once there are, millions to billions of dollars transacting on PulseX and Pulse Chain, do you want it to be vulnerable? Like, once you actually have capital in the system, how secure do you care about the vault, right? Which is the code. So I'm certainly not trying to press. I can't really say that. I am trying to press. I would like the sucker to get out there, right? Because my opinion is, $20,000 Bitcoin, wait till 11,000. I don't think it necessarily serves to quote unquote time the market. Richard over the years has never said you should time the market instead of time in the market, right?
Yeah.
So being out there is better, but I know that his priority over the years of us observing him and then getting closer to his counsel and things like that over the years, his priority is uptime, vulnerability. He knows that everybody on the planet that knows how to look at code, if they can find a vulnerability, they're going to try and chink the armor. They're going to try and break the code. So I think it's good that he has different teams looking at it. Some of the top developers that participated in Hex's origin story are definitely in the know.
Hex is rock solid. I mean, this is the crazy thing is like the people who are into crypto, my friends, okay, I'm just telling you, I'm from the traditional crypto space. They talk so much smack about Hex. They talk so much smack about Richard Hart, but we're doing DeFi here, okay? Like this is real DeFi. Like typically I come from the space of 2017 where it's like, we have this crazy idea, let's fundraise it, right? And then I would always get into like a funding round, right? So I would get a special sweetheart deal as an angel investor. And as soon as it hit the exchanges, here's what we do. I dump the shit as soon as possible, right? Nobody gave a shit about their idea. Nobody gave a shit about their project. Everybody just wanted a quick flip, right? The next buck. But yo, like everything that those people said that they were going to do that didn't do, that we invested in, remember? We're actually doing it right here. So why do you hate it so much? Like, why are you so mad? Like we're actually doing all the shit that we were dreaming about, like in 2017, 2018, back in those days, you remember that everything was on the blockchain. We're going to put medical records on the blockchain. We're going to put a toaster on the blockchain. It was just out of this world. Yo,
blockchain IC.
This is real DeFi. What we're doing and what's built on Hex is actual like interactive DeFi where you're actually doing it. We're not just speculating on it. We're actually doing it and it's working and it's working flawlessly. What is wrong with people? Why do they hate it so much? Is it because Richard
he has animosity toward VCs. He doesn't like that the big guy dominates the space necessarily. And when Hex was being originated, the game theory behind like the AA and how is it going to be propagated and how are this distribution going to happen? How are you choosing who participates, right? I think it's been a noble launch in a lot of the mechanisms that were developed by Richard in the code that got launched. Already funded, wasn't ICO. You know how much money I lost in ICOs in 2017 into 18?
Man, I'm with you, buddy.
I look back at those books, I cry. I'm like, oh man. And I also lived through a promise coin that was in 2017 into 18 that turned $100,000 into close to $3 million and then collapsed down to $37,000. And I held that to $37,000. And you know what I bought with that when I finally capitulated out of it? And the CEO in America was so disingenuous with what they were doing for the years. I sold into Bitcoin at $37,000 worth of what was left, remnants.
I thought maybe you were going to say you bought a sport coat. I thought you were going to say you bought a sport coat with that.
It was 37 that became, I think Bitcoin was worth 3,500 at the time, something like that. And then I rode Bitcoin for a while saying, well, let's just forget about it. Let's see what happens with the market. If it all goes down to zero, Bitcoin's going to be the last, fort to burn of crypto. And it had already gone down to like 3,300 or something. So at 3,500 is when I capitulated. I said, just put it in crypto. And again, $3 million down to 37,000 is very much a hurt, right?
Yeah.
So I wrote that down. And, should have got out sooner and all that. I paid attention to markers and sentiments and run for the exits, but I didn't. And that became, I waited, I think, until Hex had already gone through like maybe 2/3 of its AA. Maybe the AA was over. I can't remember. But when Bitcoin was 10,000, right when it was around 10,000, I had 17 or 18 Bitcoin at the time. And I was like, fuck it. I'm all in on this community. I think that the community is very valuable, narrative as far as who's cross-supporting each other and things like that back in 19 into 20. And we had this odd, eccentric, super wealthy, super genius guy on a throne living like Dracula. And I was like, if I'm going to do anything, let's support this, right? And I
Yeah.
can't go back at it. Like I've had different sessions where I'm like, all right, I'll sell real estate. I sold a $1 million real estate. I made over $1 million in real estate as far as once all the bills were paid. And I bought into Hex again at 41 cents on the way down. Like,
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, well, I'm in with you guys too, right? I'm in the same bathtub with everyone. So I care
So
about the community. I care about the narrative. I care about the leverage that's built into the code. Little guys, if they stake out time, they don't have to have a lot of capital. Big guys, if they have a lot of capital, maybe they don't have to have as much time, but they're not going to get the same T-share rate, and they're not going to be for the long haul. They're more going to be about the short flips. And sooner or later, we burn through all the short flip people, and sooner or later, we just basically have stalwarts or people that believe in the product, look at the code, and stand our own 2 feet.
Okay, yeah, and oh man, I agree with you so much. And that is how life works. It's like you're either spending time or you're spending money, right? But you're always freaking spending. And the other thing that I just want to bring to your attention, when you said that you got like when you were talking about your wreck story, the funny thing is about crypto and maybe investing in general, but especially crypto, is that it's always going to hurt you, right? Because look, I made a shit ton of money on cake, right? I rode cake up like from like $1 to like $24. And I'm like, that's it. It's gonna dump. I was looking at all my technicals. I did all my research. I was in the telegrams. I was reading everything, and I'm like, that's it. FUCZ. And I sold, right? So after that, in the next coming week, this was about the time of Elon Musk buying Bitcoin, right? So then Elon Musk bought Bitcoin. Everything went raging up, right? Now hold on. Now I made like 24 some X on my money, right? This is good money. I made 24X, right? I'm crying. I'm like, here's what it felt like. So as you know, cake went to like 40, 42, $43. I'd wake up, mind you, I made 24X. I wake up, refresh at that time it was Blockfolio. Shit is higher. Oh my God. Then the whole day I'd walk around and I walked around and I felt like I had a knife in my chest. I felt like I had a truck parked on my chest. I couldn't breathe. I'd refresh my Blockfolio. $36. Oh my God. If I would have just held, why did I sell? Why did I think I'm smart? So the moral of the story is this. Crypto's always going to hurt you, right? So let's say you took profits somewhere in the middle there, and then you would have been paying like, oh no, I can't believe it tripled, it quadrupled yet, right? So basically the moral of the story is you have to have thick skin to be in crypto because it's going to hurt no matter what. Either you're going to be going down and it hurt you, or you're going to miss some of the pump and it's going to hurt you. And you have to just like divorce the way you feel from your cryptocurrency bags. You know what I mean? And if you can invest and trade as if you're like some sort of freaking psycho, you're the American Psycho guy with the slick back hair and the headphones. If you can look at the crypto space in that sense, like you will be very, very profitable. Like luckily, I'm kind of like a cold mechanical kind of person. Like I don't get emotionally attached to almost anything except maybe cars, but like that's really propagated. That's really helped me in the space because, dude, don't feel bad. Like no matter which way this stupid thing goes, it's gonna sting you. You know what I mean? And you have to just have that. You just have to, like we said earlier, you have to be you have to be standing here in a year. If you're standing here in a year, time in the market versus timing the market, you're gonna make it by default. You know what I mean? You just got to catch a cycle. Like catching a cycle, no matter where you put your money, you're winning, right? You're the Wolf of Wall Street. Like, and even in 2017 ICO bubble, I put my money here at 3X, dude. I'm like, I'm strutting around, right? I'm thinking I'm a genius, but I'm not. All you got to do is catch the bull market. Don't leave. Don't look away. Be close to the crypto Cantillon effect. Make sure that you got your pulse on the heartbeat, your fingers on the pulse of the heartbeat of the crypto market. Be there when it bottoms, or shortly after if you missed it. You know what I mean? And ride up the wave, and don't forget to take profits. And when you do and it keeps going, just have the wherewithal. I always say is when you take profits, make sure you get something that you want. Like I bought a Tesla Performance, right? I found one that I really liked, a blacked out one, and it's the performance model, blah, blah, blah. Has all the insane modes. And I got that, and it kept going up, right? And I'm like, well, I got this Tesla performance that I want, so I'm okay with it. Otherwise, I would have like the B&B or the cake situation where I'm like refreshing my phone. So just make sure to take profits. Remember that it could keep going and hurt you just as much as it could go down and hurt you. You know what I mean? And you'll be okay, and you'll survive this thing. And we're gonna get through this bear market, and we're all gonna be sipping cocktails somewhere, right, in Asia. But anyways, that's the moral of my story. We are coming up to about an hour here. So do you want to tell us some of your socials, like your Twitter is right here. It's at Funding Jim. How can people get a hold of you? Where can people get more Funding Jim? Oh shit, we lost audio. We lost audio. Okay, well, guys, at Funding Jim, if you want more of Funding Jim, he's a great guy. He invited me to Vegas. We had a great time. Okay, hold on. All right.
Am I back
Are you
on or
back?
not?
Yeah, you're on. I was just
Okay,
doing an
yeah.
outro for you. Okay, you're
All
back,
good, all
man.
good. So yeah, so Funding Jim, make sure it's spelled correctly. It's an FUNDINGGYM. That's the only thing. If you put it inside of Google, you're going to come up with my LinkedIn. You're going to come up with my Instagram. I am not anything else other than that spelling. I do have a second Twitter, which is I'm one of the more public people about my name or my identity. And I'm Gary Woods. You know, if you look up Gary Woods Win on Twitter, I'm not there as often. Funding Jim is a longer moniker for me as far as its history, but I am very public about myself. And it's because one day I'll be on stage with George Gammon or Ken McElroy, and they're not going to introduce Funding Jim. It's going to be by name. So that's why I care about that. And then, yeah, I think that entertainment during the bear market, I think that's a great niche. I really like your content a lot. I don't mind getting trolled. You know, I think you do it in a nice way. If there's a nice way about like roasting people, I think you're pretty good about that stuff. And it's sometimes deserved. Like we need the mirror ever so often so that we get on track in general. And it helps other people get through what their stress might be. It might be that they're stressful and they're just going to act out on Twitter and say hateful things, and then bridges are burned. I ban people. Like if they say something that's like horrible or disgusting about someone, then I just ban them. Like, you know, I don't need to have the headache. So I do like that you're there to kind of let people get vented and entertained and change their mood a little bit. So
yeah, really the other thing is like, bro, like if we're bros, like we're always going to trash each other if we're hanging out. You know, that's just how dudes hang out. You know what I mean? So as long as it's that vibe, as long as it's like, you're my bro, I'm trashing you, that's one thing. But like you said, I've also like toxic negative people. I just cut them out. You know what I mean? Like if there's no humor behind it, it's all about frame, isn't it? Like if you're coming from the frame of, hey, we're bros, you're cool, whatever, but I'm going to trash you because whatever. Yeah. That's how we calibrate as people.
Yeah. Men, like, we have to have that. I had that in the Marine Corps. I was a corpsman. I'm wearing a dress white uniform with fucking, you know, whatever that necktie thing is that the Navy goes through. And they're all in hardcore camouflage and battle gear. And they're like, you know, it's the ice cream man coming to help us out, you know, and so it's that kind of stuff. But I'm fine with it because I can hold my own. I have my own confidence. I have my skill set, you know, and those are my best friends. And it's been 30 years and we still see each other regularly, you know, so.
Yeah. But if you come from the frame of venom and like anger and just like resentment, like, yo, I'm out. You know what I mean? It's all about frame in this world. That's all I'm saying. But anyways, guys, we're going to wrap it up here. But I do want to say one more thing before I go. So if you take a look at this right here, this is my watch face that I made for Android. It does have a hex tracker, and I designed it myself. It's totally free. You don't have to give me anything at all. But if you want to watch your bags go down in real time, download it. It's in the description box below. Like and subscribe, right? Join the Wolf Pack, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you, Gary. I appreciate you coming on.